Hey everybody, it's Clutch here from the Sodak motorcycle blog. I'm talking really close to the camera because I want you to understand this. So if you're thinking of buying a motorcycle for merely just the simple fact of I'm going to save money on fuel, don't do it. I'll explain next. Hey everybody, it's Clutch here from the Sodak motorcycle blog. Welcome back. Make sure to subscribe to the Sodak motorcycle blog. If you like this video, like the video. Also turn on that bell icon so that way you can be alerted to when my videos come out. So anyways, topic today we're talking about is should I buy a motorcycle just for the simple fact that I want to save fuel money? Well, I'll put it to you this way. No. 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 Now, if you already have motorcycles and you're talking about, hey, I'm gonna go start doing some motorcycle commuting, well, there you go. You got a lot of the cost factor worked out of it. And that's really in my mind, that's really the big thing you got to think about is if you don't have one and you don't have a motorcycle license, is a big part of it's going to be the cost factor. And I did some just did some searching around, just basic searches on Cycle Trader, and I picked the Denver metro area just as a way to, I guess, signify a metro area, because I don't know if what applies here really applies everywhere else. So, but like I said, the big thing is you don't have a motorcycle, so now you got to go get one. Now you could go cheap, the $500 range. Here's the problem with a lot of your $500 motorcycles is, well, they're not running. I mean, let's put it this way. If you're looking for a good $500 motorcycle, you're going to have to learn that patience is a virtue, because it's, you're not going to find what you want right away. It just, in my experience anymore, it seems like if it's $500, guess what? It's probably not running. A friend of mine, he now has two motorcycles. Both he wanted $500 for. The one was I think it's mid-2000 Suzuki 800, and with no spark, and hasn't been able to get the thing running, and I think he got it for $350, which, great price, but you have a bike that's not running in your driveway. What good does it do? Well, a similar deal with another bike he just bought. This one's for $350, came with parts of another bike, and once again, it's another bike that's not running. And in the end, if you want to save this money, on fuel, you're probably going to want it right now, because fuel prices are crazy right now. You may finally get this thing fixed up in a year, and by then, the price of fuel may be low again. So now you've just wasted your time and effort. So kind of went looking for, just thinking. So you could buy a new one, and really the cheapest new motorcycle you can get is you can get a brand new Honda Navi for $1,800. That's a brand new Honda Navi for $1,800. I also found a BMW R1200 CL, one of them weird, ugly-looking touring bikes that BMW had years ago. It had 26,000 miles on it, and you were looking at $3,000 for it. I also found a Ninja 250 for $3,299 with only 3,100 miles. And then I found a Shadow Ace 1100. It was a touring setup, so it had like hard bags on it and a windshield, and they wanted $3,600 for it, and had around 10,000 miles on it. So there's your prices right there. So one big problem with like the Honda Navi, yeah, it's all fine and good, but you can't hardly do 50 miles an hour, which that ain't gonna do you any good on the expressway. You're probably going to want something that's got storage space on it. The Honda Navi doesn't. The R1200 and that Shadow Ace probably does. But either way, you're looking for a good, probably reliable running motorcycle. So you're looking at least that $3,000 range. Especially if you want something that you can hop on right now, is running, and probably not any issues to speak of. So there's the motorcycle part. Now you need your gear too. Now, okay, yeah, maybe you like to ride without gear, but I don't know, I like to have at least a helmet, and it's kind of nice on them cold mornings to at least have a jacket. And I will say this, and I beg of you, please buy a helmet. Go buy a damn helmet. I think you can go to Walmart and buy like a DOT rated one for $100, or you can go down to your cycle store, find for $250 you can have one of the new HJC modular helmets that's got ECE rated on it now. Either way, spend the $200 to $250 please, and go at least buy the helmet, please. Jacket, you're probably looking at least $200. Another thing I'd say absolutely you should buy is a pair of riding boots, mainly so you can have that ankle protection. So, right there, just those three things I just talked about, you're looking at least $600 worth in gear. You could go upwards to $1,000 depending on how much gear you want to have. And if you're one of those that's really concerned about being safe and being protected, well, guess what? You just will factor in $1,000 worth of gear right now. So now we're sitting at that $4,000 to $4,500 range. And honestly, here's the deal. I don't think the fuel savings are worth it, at least for a while. It's going to take you a bit. Let's put it this way. So, and I already talked about this. The Navi, yeah, it gets 110 miles per gallon. Great, right? Problem is top speed's 50 miles an hour. And I'd be willing to bet at 50 miles per hour, you're not probably getting 110 miles per gallon with that. Your Shadow Ace, you're looking at like 40 to 45. And that's probably reality what you're looking at is a 40 to 45 MPG. Obviously, the other things you could add is, yeah, like that Honda Navi, yeah, you're going to have to add more weight and hauling your stuff with you. You're probably going to want something to change into at work because riding gear isn't really work appropriate in most places. Also, there's things you're going to carry with you like your coffee cup, your briefcase, stuff like that. So a bike without storage like that Ninja or that Honda Navi, well, you better get used to riding a backpack. And let me tell you, riding a backpack sucks. I know plenty of people do it, but I tried it. Let's put it this way. I hate riding with a backpack so much that I would actually strap it to my motorcycle in college, even though I rode only 3 blocks of class. So let's put it in perspective. That's how much I hate backpacks. And some people like them. Frankly, I just don't like them. You're kind of constricted and all that. So, we talked about the no storage. And also, like we said before, 50 miles an hour, guess what? You ain't going down the freeway. I mean, I'm pretty sure most places the minimum speed is 45, but I don't know about you, but I feel like that would be a pretty scary feeling when you're going 50 and traffic's going, 70, 80 miles an hour. So I wouldn't try that. And also, if you got a decent vehicle like my wife's CRV, it does 28 mpg. Most cars now, you're probably over 20 miles per gallon on them. Even my pickup, it'll do 13.5, which is still, it's not great mileage, but it's not terrible mileage. Now, so I ran just some numbers here. These are unscientific numbers. So the average commuter miles per year is 8,384 miles. Your average fuel price, here's just what a guess. This is America's national average fuel price of $4.11 on 11th of April. So it's been a few weeks, but we're probably pretty close to about that average right now. So if you're running a CRV all year, you're about 300 gallons per year. Your fuel price per year is about $1,234. The Shadow, if you rode it all year, this is at 45 mpg. You're looking at 187 gallons, and you're looking at $769.22. Yeah, there's some savings there, right? Here's the thing. That saving is $464.88. That's not even going to cover your gear if you choose a helmet and a jacket. That's not even going to cover your gear. Also, mind you, this is if you ride every single mile all year. Let's run it with my F-150 at 13.5 miles per gallon. For the year, 622 gallons, a cost of $2,559. And yeah, so take off the cost of that Shadow, so you take the savings, let's just say the Shadow fuel savings. You're looking at $1,789.68. And at least that'll get you a third or 2/3 of the way over your bike, so what you have. But still, you're not really looking at a massive fuel savings, at least not for your first year. I mean, if you're playing the long game, let's say you're going to commit to this for 4 or 5 years, then yeah, you will start saving money. But to me, that's a lot of commitment for somebody who's merely riding just to save fuel. Plus, who's to say that in 2 years the price of fuel might not go down again? I mean, it goes through fuel over the years just goes through so many boom and bust cycles where, yep, it's really high right now, but in 2 years, the average price of fuel may be low again. That whole high prices may change everyone's habits, and guess what? Now we're looking at a surplus again, and the price of fuel goes down. It's all just a big game anyway, so it always goes up, it always goes down. It's just kind of the way it is. So, okay, and here's another thing. We talked about this before. What about your stuff? If you're looking at low-price motorcycles, most of your small bikes don't have storage. Like I said, you're going to have to find ways to store stuff, or you're going to have to learn to just do more with less. And I don't know how many of you are willing to do that. So, here's another factor in all this we haven't even begun to think about yet, and that's maintenance. Maintenance on motorcycles costs more. It's more intensive. Bikes just cost more. Your average car oil change right now, you're probably looking at $30 to $50, right? So, on a motorcycle, you're looking at $80 to $100. And that's if you pay somebody to do it. Granted, you can do your oil change on your own, but here's the thing. In reality, you're still looking at, you do your oil changes on your own, you're still looking like probably $40 for an oil change. By the time you buy your filter and your oil, which, by the way, you can't just put any regular old cheap oil in a motorcycle. You got to have the right kind of oil. It's got to be generally a JS. If you're, especially with the bikes we're looking at, probably the lower priced import bikes, you're looking at a JSAO or JSM, whatever, the Japanese standard of MA. You're looking at that, which not every oil does that, so that's going to cost you some extra money. Let's talk about tires for a second. Let's put it this way. Dark siding is kind of a thing in the touring motorcycling world. And let's be honest, it's a thing because of the cost savings. A motorcycle tire, car tires, you're looking at about, if you get a good, decent car tire, probably a pretty good car tire, they're like $200 a piece, right? Well, motorcycle tires anyway, they go anywhere from $100 for the really low end to $200 a piece. I'd say in reality, if you're looking for a good, decent middle of the road tire, you're probably looking at $200 a tire as well. Same price, right? But here's the problem with that. Your car tires are going to last 40 to 60,000 miles. Even in our CRV, which just likes to eat tires, we can still get 30,000 miles out of a set of tires. So, motorcycle, you're lucky to get 5 to 10,000. You're really lucky if you can get if you can get 10,000 on your motorcycle tires, you're doing pretty good, because in reality, you know, you're not going to get that many, and that you got to actually be willing to spend the money too. I mean, you can go cheap on motorcycle tires. You can buy them Shinkos for less than $100 a piece. The problem is Shinkos ain't going to last you very long at all. I mean, you get what you pay for with the tires. So all those maintenance costs cost something. Also, they cost a bunch of labor. So, I mean, I'm just saying, you're going to have to do a lot more maintenance. Also, every 500 miles, you got a chain-driven bike. Guess what? You need to do chain maintenance. There's so many more things you have to do on a motorcycle you don't even have to think about with your car. Oh, also your intervals. You're looking at probably similar intervals. Like my Goldwing can go to 8,000. But depending on the motorcycle you get, let's say you got a V-Star 1100 or any of the V-Stars. Guess what? Those need an oil change every 4,000 miles. So there's more cost factors you got to consider. The maintenance is it's not just the cost savings that are the only cost associated item with a motorcycle. You got to factor in the more maintenance cost of gear, all that stuff. I've said this before, but I keep harping on it because, well, that's how it is. So here's another important factor we haven't even talked about yet either: training. Now, you live in the middle of nowhere. Okay, yeah, cool. You can just go do the buy the motorcycle trick and just ride without a license. Yeah, you could do that. But I wouldn't recommend it. I absolutely wouldn't. I wouldn't recommend riding without training, period. So here in the state of South Dakota, it costs about $100 for the basic rider training. Now, our state's one of the cheaper ones. There's actually a lot of states to get your license, it requires you to do training anyway. So you're looking at anywhere from $100 to $300 to $400 just for that basic training. So there's another cost you got to consider. Also, once you get the training done, you're not a full qualified rider yet. I mean, your license might say you are, but in the end, you still got to practice. You still got to learn how to do things. And let's be honest, rush hour is not the place to learn to ride a motorcycle. No way. There is too much going on. There's too much craziness going on. You really have to have your head on a swivel when you're riding in like rush hour traffic situation. And honestly, if you're just new starting out, you kind of in that you don't know what you don't know phase. So you gotta think about these kind of things when you're evaluating this decision. Let's be honest, a motorcycle compared to the car, when you're in a car, guess what? You got roll cage around you, you got climate control, you've got windshield. You're very protected from the outside environment. On a motorcycle, the only protection you have from the outside environment is however much money you want to spend on gear. So you basically got your helmet, your jacket, your riding pants, and riding boots. If you're one of them that's like, screw it, I don't need a helmet, that's not required my safety, okay, cool, but now you have nothing protecting you from the outside. So it's going to be much different of an experience for you going down the road than it won't. Another thing you got to consider is a time factor. So my average, I'm probably pretty close to an average commuter. It's about, I want to say it's about 10-15 miles for me to go to work. It takes me about 20 minutes by the time from walking out the door to walking in the door at work. It takes about 20 minutes if I drive my vehicle. If I'm going out on the motorcycle though, it definitely adds more time because you got to add in the time of getting geared up. It takes me probably about 5 minutes or so to get geared up, and probably another 2 or 3 minutes to actually get what I'm taking to work with me, put in the bike, stowed right, get the bike uncovered because I cover it up at night. I don't have a garage that it sits in at night. So let's say right there I've added 8 minutes on each way. So now instead of that 15-20 minute commute, now it's become a 20 to 30 minute commute. And that just adds time. That means you're gonna have to leave earlier for work. That means, and other thing I do at work is I wear different clothes at work, so I gotta factor in changing time at work as well. Because let's be honest, most places of work, your riding gear is not acceptable work attire. And let's be honest, work attire, your work attire, especially if you work in a place where you got to be, business casual is too dressed down, where you got to be like dressed up. Well, guess what? A suit and a tie is not really a very good riding gear. The only time I recommend you're in that as your riding gear is if you're doing the distinguished gentleman's ride. That's about it. So you're gonna have to factor in the change in time too. Either way, it's time is a factor as well. Now, granted, you might save some time in other spots, especially if you live in a state where you can run white line and do lane filtering and that kind of stuff. But here's the thing: if you're a beginner rider, you probably shouldn't be doing that. So, and I'm really talking to the person who doesn't have a motorcycle yet, that's thinking they're going to buy a motorcycle just for the simple fact to save fuel money. So, with me, I commute to work because I love to ride. That's why I commute to work. It has nothing to do with saving money. I mean, yeah, I probably save a little bit, but I really think in the end, I think it all comes out in the wash by the time you factor in the maintenance costs, all that kind of stuff, my time costs. Like I figure it all comes out in the wash in the end. And that's with me driving a pickup. If I drove had my wife's CRV, which does 28 mpg, frankly, I'd probably spend more, riding the motorcycle to work. If you have a motorcycle already and you decide, you know what, I think I'm gonna try commute, then go for it. Try it out. I mean, honestly, granted, I live in an area where our traffic, people think we got traffic around here, and it's like, no. For us, rush hour is about 10 minutes right at 5 o'clock. Really, and it's only on the two exits that are leaving Rapid City. That's really when there's rush hour. It becomes more of an issue for when we have construction season stuff going on, but in the end, yeah, it's not, whatever. Yeah, it's not really rush hour. So for me, it's kind of relaxing to me. It's, after a long day of work, it's a nice relaxing way for me to go home. Granted, I don't just ride brain dead. You still gotta be in the right frame of mind, but I think sometimes I think the frame of mind you got to get into to ride a motorcycle, it just helps break things up a little bit. You know, that when you're driving into work, you know, you're not thinking about driving into work. What I'm thinking about when I'm riding into work is I'm on my motorcycle, and you know, it's a beautiful morning and I'm watching out for deer, and you know, there's no one else on the road, so I got it myself. And you know, I'm in a whole different frame of mind than if I'm driving my vehicle where I'm like, oh great, another day at work, blah blah blah, got this and this I got to worry about. You know, there's so many other things I'm thinking about. And the same thing riding home. If you're in your vehicle, you're aggravated from the day if you had a long day. Whereas on the bike, yeah, there's some aggravation to start, but once you snap in that right frame of mind, you know, you're good to go. And you get home and you're like, you know what? Yep, today at work sucked, but you know what? I had a nice little, I had a quick 20-minute ride home. Granted, it wasn't the best ride in the world. It was on the interstate coming home, but you know, sometimes I'm a quantity over quality kind of rider. Sometimes you gotta just take what you can get. And frankly, if I can ride 40 minutes a day going to work, if that's 40 extra minutes of riding, by God, yeah, I want to do it. Let's put it this way, as kind of at the end here. If you're really that worried about fuel mileage, here's some things I would suggest that would probably be more cost effective. Find somebody at work if you live nearby them. Hey, you know what? Start commuting to work together. That'll save you money right there. You're commuting, basically, instead of commuting, you know, like 1 week, one of you drives 3 days, the other one drives 2. And the next week, one of you drives 3 days, you know, you flip-flop. Basically, you're sharing the load of that fuel. That, honestly, will save you a lot of money right there. Or if you live in an area where you can use public transportation, you know what? Go take the bus or take the train and use it that way. Because I assure you, once again, that'll be a lot cheaper for you than taking your car. I would take the whole I'm going to buy a motorcycle to save money going to work, and I just get rid of it off the table. Honestly, you'd be better off to go find a little tiny, you know, a little tiny box car that gets like 40 miles to the gallon for fuel mileage. You'd be better off going that route, if you ask me. A lot better, because generally those cars are, well, the maintenance is a lot cheaper on them. The tires are much cheaper on them. I mean, if it's got little tiny 14-inch rims on it, you're probably looking at maybe $100 a tire to $150 tire at most. I mean, that would be a much more cost-effective way to save money on gas if you insist on driving than a motorcycle. One more thing I'm going to put in here. How committed are you really to riding a motorcycle? Because if you're just going to switch to riding a motorcycle for saving fuel, I don't think you're committed enough. And it's going to come back to bite you in the end. It's probably going to turn out to be a wasted hobby for you. It's just going to be that way. You know, like to me, it takes time to decide if you're going to be committed to it or not. And to get the real fuel savings, you're going to have to be really committed to this type of commuting. And it kind of takes a mindset, and it's kind of almost a lifestyle of, yep, this is what I'm going to do. If you still really want to experience it, here's what I do. I would actually go sign up for a beginner motorcycle education class. Okay, so bite the bullet, spend $300. Okay, fine, $300, and just go out there and see. You know, go buy a cheap $100 helmet at a little $100 helmet at Walmart. Buy you some sunglasses, some long sleeve T-shirt. You know, a pair of, like, you know, cheap boots from there, and go try it out, because you have to provide your own gear, and go pay the tuition, go try it out. If all else fails and you don't like it, guess what? You're only out about $500, and you ain't got a motorcycle that you're gonna have to unload later. So, just final note here, and I'm sure there's some of you out there that just think, oh my God, he is stupid and he doesn't know what he's talking about. Okay, but I will say this. If you go and do this, and you go buy it, and you go do exactly what I told you not to do, don't come crying to me when you can't get that motorcycle sold because it won't run, because the carb is all gummed up, because you didn't take care of it, you didn't take care of this motorcycle, and it's been sitting there rusting in your yard, and you're bummed out because you spent $1,500 on this, and you're not going to recoup it because you didn't take care of it. Like I said, don't come crying to me. I would take solace in the fact that you can always write on the Facebook post to sell it that it ran when parked. Anyways, I'm Clutch from the Sodak Motorcycle Blog. Have a good day.